Welcome back, friends. In this lesson, I'm going to be showing you how you can use digital delay settings, which is what we were just hearing. It's the same basic thing as echo. When we say delay, basically what we're talking about is an echo. And the main goal of this video is to help you understand how you can set your echo or digital delay times to be musically aligned when you're at different tempos, or tempi as we like to call them if we're being highfalutin about it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Kalani. This is World Drum Club. And so what I've got for you today is a lesson on setting delay times to the tempo that you're in, and also setting them to different subdivisions of the beat. What does that all mean? Well, we're going to find out right now. So I'm going to be using this sheet, and I want to give a shout out to Sweetwater. I know you can't read it, but I downloaded this, and if you're at patreon.com with me, you can just grab it in the post. If you're watching this free on YouTube, you can go to Sweetwater and look for this. It's called, let me show you the overhead. It's called the BPM, which stands for beats per minute to delay times cheat sheet. And don't worry, I've got a blown up version of this. I have a bigger version. So let me show you what's going on here, and then we're going to get into how you can set a delay, whether that's a standalone unit, or you're working in your computer, or it's in your mixer like mine is. And I'm going to go through and explain it. Don't worry, all will be revealed. So I want you to bring your attention to the top of this page, and I'll be describing this as well for those of you who may be vision impaired or blind. On the left column, we've got BPM, or beats per minute, and you can see here there's a little icon of a metronome, and that's basically our click, our tempo. All right, it may be a beat, it may be a click, whatever it is. 60 beats per minute is how many beats per second? Hopefully you get that one. All right, so this is 60 beats per minute is 1 click per second, right? That's a second. And conveniently, it gives us whole numbers when we're talking about how many quarter notes are happening per second. And the answer is, of course, 1 per second at 60 beats per minute, right? 60 beats per minute is 1 beat per second. A quarter note gets 1 beat, hence 1 quarter note per second. And a second is made up of how many milliseconds, all right? That's the only other math that we're gonna really need to know to understand how to set the delay, because the delay or the echo is often set in milliseconds, all right? So now, before I go on, the answer is 1,000, by the way, right? Mil is 1,000. Millisecond is 1,000th of a second. There's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 quarter note at the tempo of 60 beats per minute. All right, so you can see that right here, hopefully. 1,000 milliseconds will produce a delay time of 1 beat. All right, let's listen to what that sounds like. That's what you were hearing at the very beginning of this video. I'm going to turn the effects back on, and the beat. This is a 60, 1, 2, 60 beats per minute beat. I'm going to turn the effect back on. 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 Quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. All right, so, and by the way, obviously the effects are recording my voice even when they're not on, so I turned them on and they had been recording. So that's what you heard at the beginning of that. But the important thing is that you understand that there's 1,000 milliseconds in a quarter note delay at 60 beats per minute. All right, so there's really 3 things we're dealing with here. What is the note value that we want to have as our delay? Do I want to have an echo or delayed or repeat of what I played every quarter note, every dotted eighth note, which is 3/4 of a note of a, well, it's a 1.5 times an eighth note. You don't need to know that. I'll give you an example. Do I want to have a repeat of the sound every eighth note? All right, if I do, according to this chart, then I need to set my delay time for 500, right? That makes sense, right? So if a quarter note is 1,000 milliseconds long, then the eighth note obviously is half of that. It's going to be 500. All right? Let's listen to these two examples before we go on, because there's a whole nother component to this lesson. So let's go to the eighth note value of the delay. I want to hear a repeated note, not every quarter note at 60 beats per minute, but every eighth note. So I need to reach over and I'm going to change the delay time from 1,000 to 500. It'll just take a second. Hang on. Okay, so now it's at 500. Now let's listen, and I'll play the tongue drum, and you can hear that. All right, so I hope you heard that when I hit the tongue drum, the delay did in fact repeat every eighth note. And that was because I set the delay for 500, which is half a second, right? Pretty simple. All right, let's listen to dotted eighth notes. Now a dotted note is 1.5 times the value of the original note. In this case, it's an eighth note, so 1.5 times 500. 500 plus half is 250, which is 750, right? 500 plus 250 is 750 milliseconds for a dotted eighth note at 60 BPM. That's important because all this changes as soon as we change the tempo. But let's listen to that just for fun. And a dotted eighth note value can be, yeah, kind of an interesting, kind of a musical value. All right, well, it's set for 755 for some reason, but let's just hear it. I think it's close enough. Okay, that is pretty fun, you guys. Now, as you can hear, you can interact with the delay. You can use the delay as kind of a partner in a way, right? Musical partner, especially when it's at an interesting delay duration, like a dotted eighth note. Now, on this sheet, this particular sheet, it tells you for every tempo, it gives you the quarter note delay value, the dotted eighth note delay value, right, which is 3/4 of the quarter note value, the eighth note value, which is half, of course, of the quarter note, and it gives you the triplet value, which is triplets would be dividing the beat into 3. And of course, here you can see that because it's 1,000, they're saying that the delay is 330 milliseconds, which makes sense. We're not getting in a point, we're not doing decimals. Of course, that would be 0.3 to infinity. We don't need that. It's close enough. Let me do that one real quick, and then we're going to look at how you can set the delay repeat or the duration of the overall delay. Not the duration of the repeat itself, but how long the repeats go on. That's another factor. But before we do that, let's just for fun go down to the triplet value, which is 333, we said. And we'll listen to that. All right. Okay, now, the other thing that you can set is how long you want the delay to feedback. Sometimes this is called a feedback length. In other words, how long is the delay going to feedback into itself, as it were. So I'll change that parameter real quick, and we can listen to that. So all I'm going to do right now is change how long the delayed sound is echoing and therefore being affected by the overall effect. So I'm going to increase it. Actually, I'm going to do this without the backing track for right now. I better turn it on. Turn it on. Now I'm going to make it shorter. And now longer. Okay, so you guys get the idea. Now, we've got those two parameters that we set on our delay. But here's where it gets fun. And this is why you need the cheat sheet, is that as soon as we change the tempo, of course, as soon as we change the BPMs, all of the delay stuff changes. Of course, because now if we speed up, for example, we go from 60 to 65 beats per minute. Now, according to this cheat sheet, the quarter note is only 923 milliseconds, right? It's shorter. Therefore, and this is why, I mean, there's formulas you can use for this, but this is why the cheat sheet's good. So if you're playing a 65, quarter note is 923, dotted eighth 692, according to the sheet. Eighth note 462, right, instead of 500. And the triplet is 307. Now my cheat sheet has fallen on the floor, but you guys saw it at the beginning of the video. And so you get the idea. That's why it's good to have the cheat sheet. Unless you have a formula that you know how to use, you could do that too. But if you're playing live or you're playing to a recording and you want to incorporate delay, not only can you choose, you know, which note value is going to be repeated. In other words, how often is the sound going to be repeated? Is it going to be once every quarter note, eighth note, dotted eighth, triplet, whatever it is? And you can do, of course, other note values, but these are the most common. How long do you want the delay? And two, how long do you want the delayed sound to keep on repeating? How long do you want it to go until it kind of tapers down? Okay, so those are the two big questions. And then, of course, as when you change the tempo, how are you going to modify that? Now, that being said, this mainly applies to a separate delay unit. In this case, I'm using the delay in my mixer, and I'm running the beat from my looper. So those things are not connected, right? They don't know what the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. In this case, if you have a smart, mixer or a DAW, digital audio workstation in your computer, for example, they've already done this math. So you can say, I just want to play at this tempo. I want my delay to be dotted eighth notes, and it just will be, right? You don't have to set anything. Because, of course, if it's within the same unit, it's going to have that feature. They've already figured this out. Presumably, if it's, recent, if it's a recent unit. But if you're using a separate delay, if you're, for example, performing on stage and you have a backing track, let's say, and you're playing your own backing track, and you want to say to the house mixer guy, could you give me a, 750 millisecond delay when I do this particular track, because, my track's in 120 beats per minute and I want my delay to be dotted quarter notes in that tempo. That's what you need to know. So it's not just about you, being able to set your own equipment. It's about you being able to communicate to an engineer, an audio engineer, house, mixer person for live performances, also for recordings, also so you can set your own gear for your own recordings if it's not doing it for you already. Okay? So that's it, you guys. Like I said, if you're on Patreon watching this, just get the cheat sheet right in this post. If you're on YouTube, thanks for stopping by. Go to Sweetwater and look for the cheat sheet over there. Or click the link below to the Patreon post, and if you're a patron, you can grab it. I'm Kalani, this is World Drum Club. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to hit the bell for notifications. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you in a future video.